Good morning all. Myself Dr. Jyoti Mashai, working as the head department of mathematics, School of Computational Sciences, Punashlo Karigadevi Holkar, Solapur University, Solapur. I heartily welcome the today's guest speaker, Dr. Sanket Tikare sir, on this guest lecture, popular mathematics lecture week organized by our department. I also heartily welcome all the faculty members and the student participants of this popular lecture series. This popular mathematics lecture program we were organizing to celebrate National Mathematics Day every year. Along with this, we are also organizing the mega competition to celebrate the same. In this mega competition, we were conducting actually quiz competition, seminar competition, poster competition for the students of various universities of this Maharashtra state. That is, it's a state level competition. And in this popular lecture series, this was a sixth lecture of the series and it was given by Dr. Sanket Tikare sir from RJ College, Mumbai. I request Ms. Uzma Muchale madam to give the introduction of Tikare sir.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So today we are at the sixth guest lecture in this popular lecture series week. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I will start with our guest lecturer. Dr. Sanket Tikare sir. Sir is working as an assistant professor in the Ramanujan Jhunjhunwala College in the Mumbai. Sir has completed his education, that is graduation, post-graduation, as well as his PhD degree from Shivaji University. Sir has received the fellowship, UGC Research Fellowship in the Science for the Meritorious Student. Next, sir has received the fellowship for the DST Promotion of University Research and Science Excellence. Sir has a sir is working for as a assistant professor for the MS for teaching to the MSc students. Sir is a member of board of study in the mathematics for the Sangmeshwar College Solapur, which is an autonomous college. Sir is working in the administrative responsibilities of RJ College, like IQAC member, Science Association of RJ College, as well as disaster preparedness committee and career guidance committee in charge of the mathematics club, as well as code of conduct committee of RJ College in Mumbai. Sir has a total teaching experience of 10 years. Sir initially worked in the Zeal College of Engineering in the Engineering and Research in Pune, and sir is working as assistant professor in the uh, RJ College, Mumbai from the year 2014. Sir has a research area in the time scale calculus. Sir is going to speak on this topic only today. Dynamic equation of a time scale, differential equations, fractional differential equation, integral equations. And sir has a total 15 research publications. Sir has a collaboration with the different countries like Brazil, in Australia, as well as our India, and in United Arab Emirates. So sir has a different collaboration with the different universities, and sir is a member of two different journals, Applied and Computational Mathematics from the year 2020, and Journal Theory and Applicacy Mathematica. And sir is a certified peer reviewer of elsewhere journal. Sir has completed 18 research paper reviews. Sir is working on two minor projects, and sir has completed one project which is granted in the seed money. And sir has delivered 20 talks in conferences, seminar, workshop, and symposium, and six national talks. And sir has attended totally 52 workshop training program, and sir has arranged five workshop, seminar, and symposiums. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Sanket Tikare sir to please start the session.
Yeah, thank you, Jyoti madam. First of all, thank you so much, Professor Uzma Muchle madam, for your kind words and introducing me to the audience. So, shall I share my screen?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Yes, sir.
yeah. Okay. Yes, can you see the screen? Yes, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Screen is
Yes.
visible. Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute. Yeah. Okay, so this is
Yes,
my
sir.
first slide. Yeah, can you see, madam? Just
Yes,
one.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for to the organizer for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you. One of my favorite topic, timescale calculus. The timescale calculus is a recently developed area. I would say that it is just 10 to 12 years older than you people. That is, I'm saying this up to your MSc students. This theory was first developed around 1988 or 1990. In between that, so in the next 1.5 hour, so I will be introducing the basic concept about the timescale calculus. Uh, this is my college. My name of my college is Ram Niranjan Junjunwala College, not Ramanujan Junjunwala College. During the introduction, Professor Ujma said it is
Sorry, sir.
Ramanujan. Yeah, it's okay. My college is at it is situated at Ghatkopar West. It is just next to Ghatkopar station. And all of we know from the last 10 to 12 days, the things are getting quite worse in my city, in Mumbai. And so I would say that once the things get normal, I invite each one of you to visit Mumbai. Mumbai is very beautiful city, and you to visit my institute. It is just next to Ghatkopar station. That's all. And yeah, this is my mentor. This is a very nice person. He is Martin Bonner. He is Curatus Distinguished Professor at Missouri University of Science and Technology, Rolla, Missouri, USA. This topic, timescale calculus, whatever I have learned, whatever I have understood from him alone. I have a lot of discussion with him through online and during some few conferences. And he has a lot of contribution in the foundation of timescale calculus and dynamic equation on timescale. He has written 4 books on timescale calculus. Yeah, the outline of my talk is as follows. First, we'll see some introduction part of timescale. Then we'll see historical review. Then some motivation, why to learn timescale calculus and why to learn dynamic equation on timescale. Then we'll see regressivity, the concept of regressivity. Then I will see first order dynamic equation, then dynamic initial value problem. Then we'll see linear dynamic equations on timescale. And then we'll focus the application of timescale in real life phenomena. Some applications I will be focusing the applications from population dynamic. And then lastly, we shall see some future research area, that is we can start working on various topics that I will be focusing at the last. Yeah. Introduction. All of we have learned the calculus, and we are learning and we are teaching the calculus. The calculus has separated into multiple distinct theories such as integral calculus, differential calculus, difference calculus, quantum calculus, and many other versions are there for calculus. But the central concept of the calculus is the change in various different contexts, right? So in differential calculus, we measure the change through limit process. In discrete calculus, we just we move from one point to other point, and so on. So basically, timescale, it bridges the gap between continuous and discrete analysis, and it expands both the theories, both discrete calculus as well as continuous calculus. The main purpose of establishing the timescale is not only exclusively to unify this discrete and continuous process, but it also to treat more general dynamical system involving both discrete and continuous time variable simultaneously. Okay. So traditionally, there are two different ways of mathematical modeling. One is differential equation and other is difference equation. Differential equation it models the phenomena that are entirely continuous, and whereas the difference equation, it works well for the phenomena which are entirely discrete. Okay, but there are certain phenomena or a lot of phenomena are there in nature which are of hybrid nature. That is, they involve continuous and discrete data simultaneously. There are some phenomena which are sometimes continuous, sometimes discrete. So in this case, okay, I will give one example. In a population dynamic, certain plant, it grows continuously during the month of spring and summer, and they die at the beginning of autumn while their seeds remain in the ground, and then the new plant grows in a new season. This gives rise to a non-overlapping population. So to model this phenomena, neither differential equation nor difference equation works. Okay, so that is, whenever the behavior is sometimes continuous and sometimes discrete, then these models, the models by using differential equation and by using difference equation, both are deficient. So occurrence of both continuous and discrete data simultaneously creates the need for new type of mathematical models. So we need to develop new mathematical model apart from differential equation and difference equation. Therefore, it is best to have a mathematical rigorous way that considers both both continuous and discrete process simultaneously. And this is the concept behind dynamic equation on time scale. So what dynamic equation do? It basically models the phenomena which are hybrid, continuous, discrete behavior. That is, the phenomena which are sometimes continuous and sometimes discrete. To model such a phenomena, the dynamic equations are quite helpful. All right. Now, for the study of dynamic equation on time scale, we have to develop, first of all, we have to develop the calculus on time scale. Okay, just like in case of differential equation, first we learn differential calculus. That is, we learn the calculus for derivatives, and then we study differential equation. Like that, first we shall develop the concept of calculus, which we have learned in our differential calculus. That is limit, continuity, differentiability, integrability, antiderivative, and so on for time scale. Okay. A little historical review. As I said, this guy, the time scale was first appeared in 1988 in a PhD thesis of the German mathematician Stefan Hilger. The title of his thesis is this one. Even I'm unable to read this. What is this? Actually, this thesis is written in German language. So the people who know the German, they were able to understand, or they are able to understand what is the written in this in his PhD thesis. Later on, he published several papers on timescale calculus, and these two papers, that is the paper in 1990 and 1997, were quite interesting. And basically, I would say this the paper in 1990 is just the English version of his PhD thesis. So these two papers were quite interesting paper, and it is the foundation of timescale calculus. And during this period, around 1997-98, only few people were working on this topic, because it is recently developed at that time. That is just 10 years old at that time. But this topic received a great attention, significant attention to the researcher around the globe, when the two monographs written by Martin Bohner and Alan Peterson were published in 2003 and 2007. After publication of these two monographs, people start realizing that the importance of dynamic equation on timescale and timescale calculus, and a lot of people have turned their research study on dynamic equation on timescale and timescale calculus. And now in 2022, just a great deal of work has been done on timescale so far, and this is mainly because this field, dynamic equation, it is applicable in almost every field where hybrid modeling is required. That is, we are going to see time scale. What do you mean by time scale, and what are the particular case of time scale? But here I would say that because of the applicability of this field, time scale, it has lot of application. It is applicable in almost every field of science, social science, and engineering also. Okay. Now here I will list some of the motivation, that is why we are going to learn or why one should learn timescale calculus. The first one is that it unifies discrete and continuous cases. That is the timescale calculus, it unifies discrete calculus as well as difference calculus. Second thing is that it unifies the other different cases also. That is, depending on the timescale set, the timescale domain, we will get different calculus. That is calculus on different set. For example, quantum calculus, Q calculus, then Jackson calculus, and differential calculus, as I mentioned in the first point. Third, it is applicable to discrete continuous hybrid phenomena. As at the introduction we have seen, differential equation, it works for continuous phenomena and difference equation works for discrete phenomena. But when the behavior is the combination of both, then neither differential equation nor difference equation works. So in that case, this dynamic equation helps us to model that phenomena. So it has application in hybrid phenomena also. Yeah, as I said, it has application to quantum calculus also. Quantum calculus is again recently developed and quite recent. It is very much active area of research, and timescale has application in this field also. Timescale has application in economic problem also. For example, one can refer this paper and application of timescale to economics. This is the first paper which focuses the application of timescale on economics by Farhan Atiki, Daniel Biles, and Lebedevinsky. It was published in 2006, and after that, again, there are a lot of papers on application of timescale in economics and finance. Timescale has application in population models also. This monograph, one can refer this monograph by Christensen and Fenchel, Theories of Population in Biological Community. In this monograph, there are a lot of biological models, both continuous and discrete and hybrid also. These models are better under, we can understand it in a better way if we study these models on a time scale. Okay, see this monograph was published in 1977, and at that time there was no time scale. Time scale was coming to the existence, coming to the literature in 1988. That is 11 years back. This monograph was published, and after that, time scale. Okay, here I will give the 3 examples of dynamic models. The very basic examples. The first model is from physics. You can see. Of radioactive decay. Suppose a radioactive material such as the isotope thorium-234, it disintegrates at the rate proportional to the amount currently present. And if Qt is the amount present at time t, then we have this first order differential equation, that is dq upon dt is minus r times q, where I is strictly positive and it is decay rate. Okay, so all of we know, and we know how to solve this by using variable separable form. Okay, second model is from economics, from commerce. If Y0 rupees are invested at an annual rate, interest rate of 7% compounded quarterly, then YT, the value of investment after T quarters of year, is given by YT plus 1 minus YT equal to 0.0175 YT. T runs from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. That is, T is nothing but it belongs to, they are whole numbers. It belongs to natural number together with 0. So, and the third model we can see from biology, from population dynamic. NT suppose NT be the number of plants of one particular species at particular time T in certain area. Then we know that the plant grows exponentially according to this phenomena, that is n prime equal to n, not throughout the year but during the month of April till September, right? And at the beginning of October, all of we know most of the plant or all of the plants of this particular type, they die, but the seed remain in the ground, and again they start growing at the beginning of April in the next year, right? For example, if the plant dies in October 2021, then their seeds remain in the ground at present in the January 2022, and they start growing again at the beginning of April 2022, with n now being doubled. They get doubled. Okay, this is the ideal situation. Sometimes they get less than they have the population less than doubled or more than doubled. So we have this model, that is, we have this first order differential equation on this domain, that is on this interval, semi-closed open interval 2k comma 2k plus 1, and we have this difference equation for k runs from or for other than this interval. So we have a system of equation to model this biological, this population dynamic phenomena. Okay, so yeah, let us see this first model, this is second model, and this is third model. And here we observe that for the first model, the domain is the set of real number. For the second model, the domain is the whole natural number. And for the third model, the domain is the union of closed intervals. Just I will go a little back and I can show you. See, for model 1, it is the radioactive material, it decays continuously. So this domain is the set of real number. And for this problem in commerce, we have the set of whole number, and here we have the collection of closed intervals. That is this one. Okay, because this is semi-open closed interval, and at that point at 2k plus 1 we have this difference equation. So the domain of these three models are the set of real number, set of whole number, and union of closed intervals, 2 or more closed intervals. So all these three models, they are different. However, we can observe that they have at least one thing in common in this domain. So can you identify what is the common thing in this domain? Yes, anyone? Anyone from MSc guys? Can you find any similarity in these three sets, three domains? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so
Students should answer actually.
yeah. They are closed subset of R. Very simple. They are closed subsets of R. That is, set of real number is a closed subset of R. Set of whole number is also closed subset of R. Union of 2 or more closed intervals, it is also a closed subset of R. So these models, these domains are different, but they have at least one common thing, that is they are closed subset of R. So this observation demonstrates us that there is a premises for, or there is a space for timescale calculus. That is, there is a need or there is an actual reason to study timescale calculus. Now, what do you mean by timescale? I am from last 10-15 minutes I am talking about timescale. Sir is saying, Sanket is saying timescale. And what is timescale? It is nothing but it is any non-empty closed subset of R with the topology, that is the standard topology which is inherited from R. Right? Any non-empty closed subset of R, it is treated as a timescale. The examples are, as I mentioned, the set of real number, set of integer, the set q to the power whole number. Q is any non-zero number. You can take less than 0, you can take less than 1, greater than 1, and union of 2 or more closed interval, it is also a time scale. The most intrinsic set, all of we know the Cantor set, it is difficult to construct the Cantor set. It is also an example of time scale, and many more sets are there. Any close, as in the definition, arbitrary non-empty closed subset of R. You take any non-empty closed subset of set of real number with the standard topology of R, that is a time scale. Okay, here are some concrete examples. If time scale is R, then our calculus on time scale reduces to ordinary differential calculus, and we have the ODE theory, that is ordinary differential equation theory. And if the time scale is set of integers, then our calculus reduces to difference calculus, and we have O delta theory, that is ordinary difference equation theory. which we learn in the first course in numerical analysis or numerical methods, that is forward difference, backward difference, and so on. Then q to the power n naught. If time scale is q to the power n naught, then our calculus reduces to quantum calculus, and we get the q difference equation theory. If the time scale is the sequence of points in R with variable step size, that is, for example, 0, 0.1, 1, 3, 3.5, like that, in varying step size, then our calculus reduces to numerical calculus, as I mentioned, numerical method, numerical scheme with varying step size. And if the time scale is a sequence of closed interval means union of closed intervals, then we get a differential equation with pulses. And if time scale is the Cantor set, then we still have, or we can still develop the calculus on Cantor set, but the applications are not obvious. The application that calculus reduces to the calculus on fractals. Okay, here as I mentioned, the concrete example is the set of real number is the one of the example of time scale. And if time scale is R, then our dynamic calculus or calculus on time scale reduces to ordinary differential calculus and ODE theory. So next thing is that embedding of time scale in ODE dynamics. So the first question we can ask that whether really the dynamic equation on time scale are non-trivial generalization of ordinary differential equation. That is, or whether ordinary differential equation is a particular case of dynamic equation on time scale. That is the first question should come in our mind while discussing the dynamic equation on time scale. Because see, the particular case, that is, if time scale is R, then we'll reduce it to ordinary differential equation. So are the dynamic equation on time scale a non-trivial generalization of ordinary differential equation? Surprisingly, the answer is no. No, the dynamic equation on time scale, they are not a non-trivial generalization of ordinary differential equations. Why? The reasons, two of the reasons I am listing here, that is, solution of any dynamic equation can be embeddable in a solution of suitable ordinary differential equation. We can embed any solution of any dynamic equation. You take one dynamic equation, its solution, we can embed it in the solution of suitable ordinary differential equation. And second thing is that the process of discretization. If we discretize the ordinary differential equation, then that with, of course, with constant and variable step size, then that discretization leads to the dynamic equation on discrete time scale. Discrete time scale, discrete means set of natural number you can take, set of whole number, set of integers, like that. So discretization ODE gives you the dynamic equation on discrete time scale. So these are two reasons that that tells you that dynamic equation on time scale are not obvious generalization of ordinary differential equation. Okay, so the answer to this question is no. So next question is in a reverse way, that is, whether dynamic equation on time scale can be represented as a restriction of ordinary differential equation. Yeah, I will go to back and I will show that next previous question, that is here. Dynamic equation on time scale, whether it is a really a non-trivial generalization of ordinary differential equation. No, that is, dynamic equation on time scale are not non-trivial generalization of ordinary differential equation. So next question here, whether dynamic equation can be represented as a restriction of ordinary differential equation, and the answer is yes. Yes, depending upon how this representability is defined. So there are considerable difficulties again. That is, yes, dynamic equation on time scale are in some extent they are a restriction of ordinary differential equation, but there are considerable difficulties. Now, what are those difficulties that we are going to see with the chain rule also? That is, chain rule is not the chain rule which we have studied is not true for dynamic equation. That is not true for time scale. The reason is that one can overcome such technical difficulties by the method of embedding. The embedding is nothing but the idea is that the solution of dynamic equation are projection of solution of suitable ordinary differential equation. That is, you take suitable ordinary differential equation on R, and if you want the solution of dynamic equation on timescale t, and for example I will take a timescale to be set of integers, then the solution of this ordinary differential take its projection on set of integers, that will give you the solution of dynamic equation on z, set of integers. So that is nothing but the process of embedding and taking the projection. And second difficulty is that, of course, the resulting ordinary differential equation, that is this suitable, I am saying this suitable ordinary differential equation is not uniquely determined. For a given dynamic equation, we can have more than one suitable ordinary differential equation. So that is one of the difficulty in embedding the timescale dynamics in ODE dynamics. Okay, now we want to develop the calculus on timescale, and the order structure and topological structure are very much essential to determine the whole calculus, any calculus. Okay, and one of the beautiful thing about timescale is that it carries order as well as topological structure in a natural way, in a canonical way. The order structure as time scale is nothing but it is a closed subset of R, and closed subset of R, it may be bounded or not bounded above, or bounded above or bounded below. So all theoretical notions such as bounds, supremum, infimum, intervals, which are available in a set of real numbers, they are also available in time scale also. Right. And particularly supremum and infimum of a bounded set belongs to the time scale and not belongs to that set itself. Okay. Then topological structure. The notion of closeness. Time scale is a closed subset of R. So the closeness in T coincides with closeness in R. And the same is true for compactness. That is, a set which is compact in T is compact in R. And if it is compact in R, then that is compact in timescale T also. But here the problem, actual problem arises with the notion of openness, that is open set. Any set which is open in R is also open in T, because T is closed subset of R. In the definition, T is nothing but it is non-empty closed subset of R. So the set which is open in R is also open in T, but the reverse is not true. That is, there are many sets which are open in T but not open in R. For example, if we take time scale to be the set of integers, then if we take the time scale to be the set of integers, then the natural topology on the set of integers is the discrete topology. And in discrete topology, any set is open. That is, here I have written any set in the induced topology. The induced topology is nothing but now the discrete topology. Any subset is open in T, but that is not true in R. That is, any set in T may not be open in R. So we will take care of this by distinguishing the T openness and T openness and R openness. That is, T openness, that stands for the set which is open in T, and R openness is the set which is open in R. Another difficulty is that another topological aspect, that is connectedness. A time scale is a closed subset of R, and closed subsets of R may or may not be connected. For example, if T equal to R, then it is connected. If T equal to Z, as I mentioned here, then Z is not connected. So how to overcome this topological deficiency? So for this, we introduce the concept of jump operators, that we are going to see the concept of jump operators later on. Another interesting thing is algebraic structure, and there is no natural algebraic structure on timescale T. Algebraic structure, that is, there is no group structure, ring structure, or similar structure on timescale T. So this is one of the serious deficiency of timescale. The order topology on timescale is generated by this open intervals, that is R, S, which is the set of all time element t, which lies between R and S, and Rs belongs to this set. This is known as order topology. And if time scale is R, then this topology reduces to our usual topology, Euclidean topology. And if t equal to z, then this topology, this order topology, reduces to the discrete topology. And with respect to discrete topology, every subset is open set. So the Hausdorff topology on T is the unification of these two topologies. Okay. Yeah, here is the jump operator. Just a minute. As I mentioned, the closed subsets of R, they may not be connected, may be connected. So to overcome this deficiency, we shall define two operators, that is forward jump operator and backward jump operator. The forward jump operator is a mapping from T to itself, it is sigma from T to itself. It is defined as infimum of all those S timescale element S such that S is greater than T, and backward jump operator defined as rho, which is from T to T itself, as supremum of all those timescale elements which are less than T. It is S less than T. S belongs to T. Okay. And if the timescale has maximum element, then see here, it gives all, it is infimum of all those such that S is greater than T. And if for maximum element, we set sigma m equal to the m itself, that is big M. And if the timescale has minimum element small m, then we set small m, the rho of small m is m itself, because there is no, this m is minimum element, so there is no element before m, so that's why we set in this way. And we observe that these jump operators, they are non-decreasing function, and the forward jump operator sigma is right continuous, it is continuous from the right, and rho is continuous from the left. With the help of these jump operator, we can classify any point in the timescale t as follows. A point t in a timescale t is said to be right scattered if sigma t is greater than t. It is said to be left scattered if rho t is less than t. It is dense point if sigma t equal to t and t is less than supremum. It is left dense if rho t is equal to t and t is greater than infimum. The point is dense point if all the three are same, that is sigma t equal to t equal to rho t. And the point is said to be an isolated point if all the three are distinct, that is rho t is less than t is less than sigma t. Okay. So these are the types of points in a given time scale. Here is a classification in a by using picture. That is point T. Here point T1 is dense point. It is left dense as well as right dense. Point T2 is left dense and right scattered. Point T3 is left scattered, right dense, and point T4 is left scattered as well as right scattered, so it is isolated point. So in this diagram you can say point T1 is dense point because it is left dense as well as right dense, and point T4 is isolated point because it is left scattered as well as right scattered. Okay. Example, that is if timescale is the set of real numbers, then sigma t is infimum of all those s such that s is greater than t. Now set of all real numbers such that s is greater than t is nothing but the open interval t comma plus infinity. So if we find the infimum of this open interval, then that is nothing but t. So sigma t is equal to t, that is yeah, and rho t is supremum of s such that s is less than t. Now all real numbers which are less than s are given by the open interval minus infinity comma t, and if you find the supremum is t. So we find that rho t equal to t. Okay, so so from this we can observe that if time scale is the set of real numbers, then rho t equal to t, sigma t equal to t. It is rho t equal to t is equal to sigma t, and this is the condition for denseness of point. So the point t is dense point, and the point t we have taken an arbitrary point. So from this we can conclude that every point in the time scale r is a dense point. Okay. Second example is the set of integers. Again, we apply the definition sigma t equal to infimum of all those s belongs to z, that is all those integers which are greater than t. Okay, so that is this set is nothing but greater than t, means all integers greater than t, and t is also integers. What are those integers? T plus 1, t plus 2, t plus 3, and so on. Okay, and so that is this set. And if you find the infimum, then infimum is t plus 1. The infimum is t plus 1. And rho t is, according to the definition, supremum of all those integers which are less than t. And the integers which are less than t are t minus 1, t minus 2, t minus 3, and so on. And if you find the supremum of that set, then that is t minus 1. Okay. So from this, we observe that sigma t is t plus 1, rho t is t minus 1, and here we have this inequality, that is rho t is less than t is less than sigma t. So all the three are distinct, and we can say that the point t is isolated, is an isolated point, and t is an arbitrary point. So we can conclude that every point in the time scale z is an isolated point. Okay, so these are two important examples, because we know the properties of real number and properties of integers also. Okay, so here we'll put a remark that as we have classified the point in a time scale with the help of jump operator, that is scattered point, dense point, right dense, left dense, and so on. Okay, so here is the remark, that is when it comes to topological and analytical consideration, the calculus on time scale becomes easy to handle at scattered point. Now, no matter that point is left scattered or right scattered, that is, if the point is scattered point, then the calculus on time scale becomes easy if we want to study topological and analytical properties. And the calculus on time scale becomes easier to handle in right dense point in algebraic context. Right? However, the points at which which are at the same time left dense and right scattered, or right dense left scattered, then the combination of jump operators, that is which we have defined, that is sigma and rho, and the topology on timescale t, that leads to additional difficulties, and to study the calculus on timescale at such a points, that is left dense as well as right scattered at a time. So we need to impose additional conditions on timescale as well as some on jump operators. Okay, so this is the another drawback. Okay, now we'll define the graininess. This is one of the new concept. The calculus on timescale, it includes both differential as well as difference calculus. But in case of differential calculus is symmetric. That is, we find the derivative. I would have used whiteboard, but it's okay. Derivative of f at point x is nothing but limit h tends to 0 f of x plus h minus f of x upon h. Right? That h tends to 0, that h approaches to 0 either from the left or from the right. Okay, or from in the both direction. But in case of difference equation or difference calculus, this is not the case. We write difference f of x plus h minus f of x upon h. So there is no limit. Okay. So that is the we can say that the difference calculus is not symmetric in time. That is, we calculate forward difference separately and backward difference separately. Whereas in case of derivative, we find left derivative and right derivative simultaneously. Okay, now to overcome this difficulty, what we shall do, we break up the time symmetry at this point by positive time direction and negative time direction.
Yes.
Sir. Yes.
Sir, I think the screen is soft. Graininess is the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it now? Yeah.
Yes, sir. It is.
Yeah. Okay. Now To overcome this difficulty, what we shall do, we shall break up the time symmetry at this point by positive time direction and negative time direction. Positive time direction means from right hand side, and negative time directions from uh, left hand side. And for this we define the function Graininess function. So there are two types of Graininess functions: a forward Graininess function and backward Graininess function. The forward Graininess function is mu, which is a mapping from time scale to non-negative real line. It is defined as mu t is sigma t minus t, and backward Graininess is nu, is defined as, it is again this is mapping from same domain to range. It is nu t is t minus rho t. And we find that for set of real number, mu t is 0, the Graininess is 0, because sigma t equal to t, that is all the points are dense point for real line. For real line, all points are a dense point. So mu t, so they are same, and so mu t equal to 0 for all t. And for a set of integers, the sigma t is t plus 1. So t plus 1 minus t, so that gives you 1 for all point t. So for time scale set of real number, the Graininess is 0, and for a time scale set of integers, the Graininess is 1. Now what is Graininess? Graininess, it basically measures the distance between two consecutive elements of time scale t. That is, forward Graininess measures the distance between the point and its next point to the right hand side. That is, sigma t is forward jump operator, forward point, right point. Whereas backward Graininess function, it measures the point from the given point and its previous point. So it basically, for these functions, they basically measures the distance between two consecutive elements of time scale. Okay, here the Graininess is 0, which is constant. Graininess is 1, which is constant. But there are many time scale with non-constant Graininess also. For example, let us take one real number which is greater than 1, and we consider the time scale as the set q to the power k, where k is integer union with singleton 0. Now, according to the definition, if t belongs to time scale t, then it is of the form q to the power m, where m is integer. And according to the definition, sigma t is infimum of q to the power n, n belongs to this semi-close open interval. Right. So that is nothing but we are going to find the infimum of, that is infimum of q to the power n is nothing but infimum of n over this. Infimum is nothing but m plus 1. So that we write here q to the power m plus 1. That can be written as q into q to the power m. But q to the power m is nothing but t. So it is q into t. So sigma t is nothing but q into t. So the point which is very next to the point t is q into t. And also we find that sigma of 0 is 0. So from this we obtain that according to the definition of Graininess, mu t is nothing but, let me go a little back. Yeah, mu t is sigma t minus t, and sigma t is qt. So qt minus t is nothing but q minus 1 into t for all t belongs to this. So we have, this is the Graininess. This is the Graininess for this time scale at point t. So as point t changes, this Graininess is going to change. That is, for example, if t equal to 0, then it gives you 0. If t equal to 1, then it is q minus 1, and so on. So Graininess changes according to the point. So it is not constant. Another example, you can see this union of closed interval. This is quite interesting and important example. This is the domain. I would say that this is the domain for many mathematical or many dynamical models to study population dynamics. As I mentioned at the beginning, population dynamic. So the plant grows during certain period of the year. It is the April to certain in the summer and like that. Okay. So to model such a phenomena, this domain, the time scale domain, is quite useful. And for this, the mu t is again this, that is, it is 0 and b if t has this, t belongs to this, and if t is of this form, then it is b. So it is again not constant. The examples of timescales are, which I have listed over here. This timescale t, if it is r, then Graininess is 0. and forward function, that is sigma t. Forward point is t, backward point is also t. Why? Because every point is dense point. For set of integers, timescale set of integers, the graininess is 1. So the point which is to the right hand side of t is t plus 1, and the point which is to the left hand side of t is t minus 1. For hz, just it is the time scale with jump h. So the difference between 2 points is h, and q to the power n, as we have seen, that is q minus 1 into t. And here the 2 to the power n is the just the particular case of this, that is q equal to 2, so you will get this one, and n naught square, again this one. So these three first three are the time scale with constant graininess, and last three, that is fourth, fifth, and sixth, are the time scale with non-constant graininess. Okay, yeah, just a minute. Yes, sigma gives the point which is very next to the point of t, and rho gives the point which is just previous to the point t. So one would thought that sigma of rho t equal to t and rho of sigma t will be t. Because why? Because sigma t gives the point which is next to point t, and rho t gives point just previous to t. So they are inverse of each other. One would thought like this, right? But it is not like that. So they are inverse of each other. That is sigma of rho t equal to t and rho of sigma 2 equal to t if the point t is isolated point. So for isolated point, we have this one, that is they are inverse of each other. And if point t is right scattered and left dense at a time, I am not saying or, that is point t is right scattered and left dense, then sigma of rho t will be sigma of t. Why? Because it is left dense. So left dense equal to left dense, that means rho t is t. So sigma of rho t is sigma of t, and it is right scattered. So sigma of t will be what? It is t plus 1. So it is not t, not equal to t. And similarly this one. And if point t is right dense and left scattered at a time simultaneously, then similarly we have rho of sigma t equal to t, because and sigma of rho t is equal to t, and rho of sigma t is rho of t, which is again not equal to t, because rho of t is t minus 1, because it is left scattered. And if point t is dense point, then we have this, they are same. So these equalities, that is sigma and rho, they are inverse of each other if point t is isolated point and dense point. That is, they are inverse of each other only under these two conditions. That is, dense, the point which are on a time scale, the points which are all point dense point, that is nothing but the set of real number. And the time scale in which all points are isolated points are the set of integers. So for a time scale set of integers, we have these equalities, and for real number also we have this inequality. But there are many more time scale also. So we have this one. So in general, they are not inverse of each other. Another interesting is that the jump operator which we have defined is not continuous in general. Here is one example. It is time scale t. The set we take as set of all numbers of the form minus 1 upon n, whereas n is natural number union with whole numbers. So that is the time scale will be minus 1, minus 1 upon 2, minus 1 upon 3, minus 1 upon 4, and so on. And then whole numbers, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So here we find that as n tends to infinity, Tn tends to 0, that is C, is Tn. It is minus 1 upon n, it will tends to 0 as n tends to infinity. And also we notice that sigma of 0 is 1. What is sigma of 0? Sigma of 0, it gives you the point which is next to the point 0. Now next to the point 0 is 1. It is 1. And sigma of Tn is Tn plus 1. That is Tn is minus 1 upon n. So minus 1 upon n, if you find Tn plus 1, it is minus 1 upon n plus 1. Plus 1 upon n plus 1. As n tends to infinity, this will tends to 0. and 0 is not equal to 1, and 1 is equal to sigma of 0. So we find that Tn tends to 0, but sigma of Tn doesn't tends to sigma of 0. So sigma is not according to the sequential continuity. Sigma is not continuous. So because we have limit s tends to 0, sigma of s is not equal to sigma of 0, so it is not continuous. So this forward jump operator is not continuous. Similarly, one can check for a backward jump operator also. It is also not continuous. But we can observe that this forward jump operator is continuous at right dense point, and its left sided limit exists at left dense point. This is quite interesting observation. It is a forward jump operator. It is continuous at right dense point, and its left sided limit, look at this, this is left side limit. Left side limit exists at left dense point of time scale t. So this observation leads to the new kind of the definition of new kind of continuity, that is RD continuity. Here is the definition. A function f from t to r is said to be RD continuous if it is continuous at every right dense point. Now RD stands for right dense. That's why it is mentioned as RD continuous function, and its left sided limit exists at left dense point. Now only the left sided the existence of left sided limit is enough. No need to again right limit exists and they are equal. So we have relaxed the condition of continuity a little, and that is we just need that the function must be continuous at right dense point, and at left dense point it is enough to have only one sided limit, that is left sided limit exists. Right. So after realizing this condition, so we'll get a lot of properties, and the notation is RD t comma r, and we observe that this notion, that is the notion of RD continuity, is the natural notion within the context of time scale. Just as in case of ordinary differential calculus, the role played by continuity, the same role here the RD continuity played in case of or in the context of time scale. And also it is observed that this RD continuity, it is an appropriate notion for defining the integral via antiderivative. So that's why so because of this RD continuity is very important in discussing the time scale calculus. And here is one interesting observation given in the form of remark. If the function is continuous, ordinary continuous, if the function is continuous, then it is RD continuous in general. And if the time scale t contains the points which are either, see here, either dense or isolated point. Now dense means left dense as well as right dense, and isolated means left scattered as well as right scattered. If the time scale contains such a points, then the continuity, the ordinary, the normal continuity and RD continuity, they are same. That is, if a function is continuous, then it is RD continuous. If a function is RD continuous, then it is continuous. If and only. And if a time scale t contains the point which are left dense and right scattered at the same time, left dense and right scattered, or right dense and left scattered at the same time, then the function is RD continuous, but it may not be continuous. The function RD continuous may not be continuous for such type of points. Okay, next we define another useful operator, that is kappa operator. It is operated on time scale. If the time scale t has left scattered maximum element, then we can derive a new set from that given time scale as t kappa equal to t minus supremum of t. That is, if the time scale has left scattered maximum element. If the time scale do not have the left scattered maximum element, then we set this t kappa as t. So in other words, the t kappa is defined in this way, that is, it is if supremum is finite, is if the supremum exists for the given time scale, then t kappa is defined as t minus this interval, and if supremum is infinity, that is, for example, if t is r, then t kappa is t. So basically, the role of this kappa operator is to cut off an eventually existing isolated maximum element of the time scale t. Right. Now, left scattered maximum element. Left scattered means it is left scattered, may not be right scattered, but it is maximum element. So it will definitely it will be an isolated point. So we need to cut off this point, or we have to remove this point, and the kappa operator do that job for us. That is, it eventually cut off. Now you would ask me, then why we need to remove, or why we are not interested in such a point, such isolated points. It will be clear soon after this definition. It is delta derivative. Now we are in a position to define the delta derivative. A function f from t to r is said to be delta differentiable at point t belongs to t kappa if for any epsilon positive there exists a neighborhood n of t such that and there exists a number f delta such that for all s belongs to n we have this inequality. It is f of sigma of t minus f of s minus f delta to sigma t minus s is less equal epsilon times mod of sigma t minus s, and the neighborhood is defined as the intersection of this ordinary neighborhood, delta neighborhood, with time scale t. Whenever this happens, that is whenever such a number exists, then that number is called the delta derivative of f at point t. The delta derivative is also known as Hilger derivative. The same Hilger, Stephen Hilger, who first introduced the time scale. And we note that the delta derivative is well defined on t kappa. It may not be well defined on t, but definitely it is well defined on t kappa. How? Here is the proof. Suppose t doesn't belongs to t kappa. Now t kappa, it contains which points? Just a little back. It contains point non-supremum, means non-maximum element, but left scattered, right? Yeah, here. T doesn't belongs to t kappa. Then every real number, that is f, has each alpha as a derivative. That is, every real number will be the derivative of that function. Here is the proof. Suppose supremum of t is finite, that is less than infinity, and f of t, f delta t is defined at point t minus t kappa. Then the only unique element in this set t minus t kappa will be the supremum of t. Okay, this set contains only element which is supremum of t. Why? Because supremum of t we have taken as finite. Hence, the neighborhood is again neighborhood of this point t is singleton t, because it contains only one point, and that point is nothing but supremum of t. So for each alpha you can take any alpha, and for all s belongs to s, for all s belongs to n, and this n contains singleton t. S is nothing but singleton t, n is nothing but singleton t. So mod of f of sigma t minus f of s minus alpha times, this alpha is any real number, for each real number, sigma t minus s. Now s belongs to n contains t, the t is nothing but supremum. So sigma t is nothing but supremum of t, and s is nothing but supremum of t. So f of supremum of t minus f of supremum of t minus alpha times this one. So that gives you 0, and any obviously this is 0, and it is less than epsilon times mod of sigma t minus s. So from this we can conclude that this alpha is the derivative of this function f. And what is alpha? Alpha is any real number. So from this we can say that any real number becomes the derivative of the function f when at this point. That is, if the point doesn't belongs to t kappa, then we have any real number as the derivative. So that is not a well defined, then derivative is not a well defined. Every real number becomes a derivative. We lost uniqueness. So to have the uniqueness, we need this t kappa. Okay, so here are some basic properties of delta differentiable function. If a function is delta differentiable, then it is continuous normal continuity. And if a function is continuous at point t and the point t is right scattered point, then the function f is differentiable at point t, and we have this formula, that is f delta equal to f of sigma t minus f of t upon mu t. And if point t is right dense point, then the function is continuous at point t if and only if this limit exists. That is, the function is differentiable at right dense point if and only if this ordinary limit exists as a finite number. And in this case, the derivative is defined as the value of this limit. Another interesting property is that if a function is differentiable, then f of sigma t equal to f of t plus mu of t into f delta. Okay. This formula or this equation is known as simple useful formula. Sometimes you can see, or somewhere you can see it is SUF. It is simple useful formula. This is simple formula, but it is quite useful. Why it is useful? Because it relates the functional value and derivative value, f and its derivative. So of course we are going to use this formula later on. Okay, next the delta antiderivative and delta integral. Given a function f from t kappa to r and a subset A of t, a function big F from A to R is said to be delta antiderivative of the function f if this big F is delta differentiable and we have this condition. This is very similar to our ordinary antiderivative, which we define in our calculus. Okay. And here is the definition of delta integral, which is again very similar to the Cauchy integral, which we define in our integral calculus and differential calculus also. But here we need the function to be RD continuous function. Function f is RD continuous, and if f delta, big F delta equal to f, that means this f is antiderivative of f, then through antiderivative we need, or we can define the delta integral in this way. So here we need RD continuity. So as I mentioned earlier, the concept of RD continuity is a natural notion in the context of time scale. That is, here is the proof for that one. Okay, and the relation is that every RD continuous function has delta antiderivative, and in particular that antiderivative is defined in terms of delta integral a to t f of s ds. So here is the little summary about the two important examples, timescale, that is set of real numbers and set of integers. Set of real numbers, the jump operator is t, backward jump operator is t, forward jump operator is t, graininess would be 0, and derivative is our ordinary derivative, and integral is our ordinary integral, Riemann integral you can take, or Cauchy integral. And RD continuity is nothing but our usual continuity. For time scale to be set of integers, the backward jump operator is t minus 1, the point which is previous point of t, that is t minus 1, and the point which is next to point t is t plus 1. Graininess is 1 because distance between any 2 points in z, consecutive point, is 1. Delta derivative reduces to forward difference, and delta integral, the Cauchy integral, it reduces to this summation, the finite summation. Okay. And RD continuity, so there is no continuity in difference calculus. There is no concept of continuity in difference calculus. So any function plays the role of RD continuity in Z. So these are quite two important examples. Okay, let us come to the chain rule. As I mentioned that while discussing the embeddability of dynamic equation on time scale in ordinary differential equation, I mentioned that chain rule is not true. So our usual chain rule says that if f and g are two real functions, real valued function of real variables, such that the function g is differentiable at point t and f is differentiable at g of t, then we have this chain rule, that is f circle g dash at t is equal to f dash g at t to g dash at t. Okay, so this is our usual chain rule, all of we know from elementary calculus. surprisingly, this is does not hold for all time scale. Okay, for example, here is the example. Uh, if f and g are two functions from z to r, z is time scale here. It is defined as f of t equal to t square and g of t equal to 2t. Then you can see that f circle g of t is t plus 4. So here you will require a little 2-3 line calculation. So f circle g delta, that is delta derivative of f circle g, is 8t plus 4, and this product, that is f delta at g of t into g delta, is 8 plus 2. So they are not equal. So this chain rule is not true. So this is quite, this looks very simple example, but this is quite interesting example and quite useful example, because a lot of people thought that time scale calculus is nothing but just replacing the ordinary derivative by delta derivative. Okay, a lot of people say, or many people says that okay, time scale calculus is quite easy, or it is just a routine generalization of ordinary calculus or ordinary differential equation. Just you replace ordinary derivative by delta derivative. But this is not the case. That is, you need different things to study dynamic equation on time scale and time scale calculus. See, this is the example that merely replacing prime, that is dash ordinary derivative, by delta will not work. Even the simple chain rule is not true here. Okay, so that's why the time scale calculus has its own significance. That is, there is a need to study time scale calculus as well as dynamic equation on time scale. The first chain rule was introduced by Postchain in 1998 to calculate the delta derivative of f circle g, where again here is the partial answer, that is f is a mapping from r to r and g is a mapping from t to r. So here they have taken the fixed time scale, that is r. Yes. So f is a real valued function of real variable which is continuously differentiable, and g is a function defined on time scale such that it is delta differentiable on t kappa. We always take on a t kappa. Then the composition f circle g is delta differentiable at t kappa, and we have this formula. Okay, the delta derivative of f circle g is the product of this integral and g delta t. It is integral from 0 to 1. F dash of this is at the argument, and integral is with respect to h, this h, for all time scale, for all element t belongs to t kappa. Okay. Now this formula will reduce us to this formula, this our ordinary formula. Just look at this one. That is, if we take the time scale t to be r, then this will be r, and for r the graininess is 0 because every point is dense point. Graininess is 0, so this will be 0. So this term is 0, so this whole term will be 0. That means this whole will be 0, and integral 0 to 1 f dash of gt to dh. So this f dash at gt is independent of h, so you can take outside in integral 0 to 1 dh, that gives you 1, and you will get what you will get finally, f dash g of t into g delta t, but this delta will be now dash because we are taking r. Okay. So that this chain rule, classical chain rule, becomes a particular case of this one. And here is the example. That is really this chain rule is true. Let g be a mapping from z to r and f is a mapping from r to r. They are defined as gt equal to t square, and f of t is e raised to x, that is exponential. I have written here. Then this g is defined on z, so g delta will be the forward difference, and forward difference is g of t plus 1 minus gt. That is, t plus 1 is t plus 1 bracket square minus t square, and that is 2t plus 1. And this is our real function, real valued function of real variable. So its derivative is e raised to x itself. Okay. Now we shall find integral 0 to 1 f dash at this term. This g is, that is f dash at t is f dash x is e raised to x. So it is e raised to x, but x is e raised to this one now. Gt is what? It is t square. H is as it is. Mu t. What is mu? The graininess of z. What is the graininess of z? It is 1. So we'll keep 1 as it is. And g dash at t. G dash at t is 2t plus 1. It is 2t plus 1 gt. G delta t is 2t plus 1. Okay. This 2t plus 1 we'll write here. Now e raised to t square. It is independent of h. So I can take outside the integral. So e raised to t square, integral 0 to 1, e raised to h into 2t plus 1 dh with respect to h. So if we find the integral and we'll substitute the value, then we'll get that e raised to t square into e raised to 2t plus 1 minus 1. This minus 1 is the number, not at the exponential. And now let us come to this f circle g delta. That is delta derivative of f circle g. It is nothing but the forward difference because time scale is z. Okay, so it is forward difference, that is f of g of t plus 1 minus f of g of t. What is g of t? G of t is t square. So it is g of t plus 1 is t plus 1 square, it is c square, and f of x is e raised to x. So it is e raised to t plus 1 bracket square minus e raised to t square. So again, same approach, simplifying, we'll get this one. And look at this. This is nothing but just this one, that is e raised to t square into e raised to 2t plus 1 minus 1, which is this one. So from these two, we can write that the delta derivative of f circle g is this integral, and which is nothing but our 5, this one. Okay. So next little improvement from that chain rule is given here. If g is a real valued function of real variable which is continuous, and g defined on time scale real valued function which is delta differentiable on t kappa, and f is real valued function of real variable which is continuously differentiable, then there exists a point c in this interval t comma t plus 1. T plus 1 is the point which is very next to point t with this equation. This is one of the version of chain rule, and here is the example. That is, if we take the time scale to be set of integers and f of t equal to 2t square plus 1 and g of t equal to t square, then this g, we observe that it is continuous and it is delta differentiable on t kappa, and f from r to r is continuously differentiable, and sigma t would be t plus 1 because z, and g delta is 2t plus 1, and taking t equal to 1, we find that 1 comma sigma of 1 is 2, and we get this after this calculation. Go a little fast because I have less time, less than 10 minutes. Yeah, this is again further improvement in the chain rule. And the consequence of this chain rule is that using this chain rule, one can define the derivative of inverse function, and one can define the or one can generate the formula for substitution of integration by substitution in time scale. Okay, regressivity. In case of ordinary differential equation, we can find the solution in a backward direction in a unique way. But this is not the case in case of difference equation. That is, we cannot find uniquely the solution in a backward direction. For example, we consider this initial value problem on the time scale n, that is set of integers, that is x delta equal to minus x at x of t naught equal to x naught. If x naught equal to 0, then this initial value problem has infinitely many solutions. If it is non-zero, then it has no solution at all. Okay, so there, this is a real number, and for the real number there are only two possibilities, that is either it is 0 or non-zero. So if it is 0, then this initial value problem has infinitely many solutions. If it is non-zero, then it has no solution at all. Now why this happens? Because we observe that this is a time scale, and this time scale has jump 1. So whenever the jump, or when the jump exists in the time scale t, then we can say that the continuation of solution in backward direction is not possible in a unique manner, or not possible at all. Okay. So what to do then? So we have to find a condition which guarantees a unique backward solution, unique backward continuation of solution of dynamic equation on time scale. And this is given, necessarily given in the following definition. A function f from a function p from t to r is said to be regressive if this condition holds. And the set of regressive function is r t comma r. This is different r than this r. And on the set of regressive function, we define two operators, circle plus and circle minus operations in this way. And interesting thing is that the set of regressive function becomes an abelian group with respect to this circle circle plus addition operation, and this group is known as regressive group because it contains all the functions which are regressive function. Yeah. Okay, I will give the definition of exponential function and maybe dynamic initial value problem I will focus, and then I will stop. For a regressive function, one can define the exponential function on time scale t as follows. That is, if graininess is non-zero, that is strictly positive, then the exponential function is defined as e to the power this integral. And if graininess is 0, then we define it is in e raised to this integral, where this log, it stands for principal logarithmic function. The first order dynamic equation x delta equal to px, where p is regressive, such a dynamic equation is called regressive dynamic equation. Here is the sign of exponential function. If p is a regressive function, and if 1 plus mu p is strictly positive on this t kappa, then the exponential function is strictly positive. And if this 1 plus mu p is negative, then the exponential function is alpha t comma t naught times minus 1 raised to eta, where eta is 1 plus finite number of elements of time scale t between t naught to t. So here we observe that as eta changes, so eta is any finite, any number, any integer, so it may be positive or may be negative. So depending on that, the exponential function changes sign. So exponential function may be negative on a time scale, but this is not the case in R. Okay, how much time? I think I will stop it here.
Yes.
Because just 2 or 3 minutes. If anyone has any doubt, then
Any questions from student side, if they understood? If you have queries, you can ask.
Actually, there are many more points to discuss, but because of shortage of time,
Yes, sir.
just I couldn't finish that.
Well, what I personally feel is it's very new topic, sir, and I think we have a lot of applications of this also.
Yeah. Basically, what it does, it unifies both discrete as well as continuous. So if the time scale we take as a real line, then real number, then it reduces to ordinary differential equation. The theory reduces to our ordinary calculus, and if z, then it reduces to difference. And if as I said, if the phenomena are hybrid phenomena, that is discrete and continuous, means sometime discrete, sometime continuous, then neither differential equation nor difference equation work. Even fractional also doesn't work in this situation. So in this process or in this situation, dynamic equation help us to model such a phenomena. And this topic is recently developed, just as I said, in 1988, it was
Yeah,
first
yeah.
introduced. And in the literature, around only 15 or 16 books are there on time scale,
Yes, sir.
not
Yes.
more than 16 books.
That's why it's a really new topic, I feel
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. One more thing I would give. Just you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. These are the future research problem. One can work on partial
Partial.
dynamic equation, then stochastic dynamic equation. One can also start by studying the complex dynamic equation, just very similar to complex differential equation. Then, as all of we know, there are a lot of fractional derivatives. Riemann-Leibniz derivative, Caputo derivative, and Hilfer derivative,
Yeah.
Atangana-Baleno derivative. All those derivatives and all the corresponding fractional differential equation, one can study by on a time scale, using time scale. Then fuzzy dynamic equation also. Then new special function one can also develop on time scale. For example, Bessel function, I think Bessel function, the study on Bessel function has been done, but Laguerre function, hypergeometric function, Legendre function, a lot of functions are there. One can study on time scale and one can find the similarity or
Can we go
similarity
for
between.
soft dynamic equations? Soft set is
Sorry,
my research area actually.
sorry.
Actually, you are saying it is fuzzy dynamic equations,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, fuzzy. Huh? Yes.
Then whether we can do it for soft sets also.
Yeah, one
Soft,
can do. Even
because
in functional transforms also, that is for example, Laplace transform, Fourier transform, the
yeah,
work has been done on time scale, but there are many more transform. For example, Mellin transforms are there, then many other transforms, I'm not recalling that.
yeah, yeah.
Radon transform.
Hmm.
So one can again develop those transform on time scale, so that would be again a new topic for research.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I personally feel it is very interesting, sir. But
yeah.
in one
And
lecture, it is somewhat difficult to understand each and every point. We
yeah,
have to give
yeah,
some time for this, time to
yeah,
study.
yeah. Yes, yes, it is quite new topic, and I
Yeah.
would suggest the students to read this book, first book by Bonner and Peterson. And actually, no need to read the whole book. Just first two chapters are enough to understand the time scale. And whatever the presentation I have done here, they are just it is from this book only,
Okay,
first
okay.
book, first book, and little part from second book.
Yes, sir. Yes, from
Yeah.
student side, if anyone is having questions, or if you want to have a discussion with Dr. Tikare, sir, then you can ask.
Or you can take my email ID and you
Ah,
can write to me also.
I think for students, from student side, they may be shy to ask the questions, sir, generally.
Student don't get shy. Actually, I am also from, as madam know, I am also from Solapur.
Yes, sir.
I born and brought up in Solapur only. Later on, I shift to Mumbai.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It's
Student, if
really a wonderful lecture, actually. And
yeah,
I will try to read the book, at least some first 2 units,
yeah,
because I
sure.
personally feel it is very interesting topic, time scale.
Yeah, the first 2 units are enough to understand the basics of time scale calculus from
Yes, sir.
that book,
Yes,
from
sir.
this book,
Yeah.
from this first book. First 2 units are enough.
Is this soft copy available for this book?
Yeah, it is available on Sci-Hub and other
Yes,
also.
on Sci-Hub. Yeah, yeah.
Even LibGen also. That is pirated, but we can use that.
Okay. For study purpose, we can use. No doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful lecture. Uh, there will be next session will be a vote of thanks. I request Mr. Vishal Kohli, sir, to put the vote of thanks for the session.
Okay, ma'am. I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. Very good afternoon to all. On this wonderful occasion, I would like to present the vote of thanks for the event, Popular Mathematics Lecture Week, organized by Department of Mathematics, School of Computational Sciences, Punyashloka Ahilyadevi Holkar, Solapur University, Solapur. On the occasion of celebration of National Mathematics Day 2021, on the birth anniversary of mathematical genius Srinivasa Ramanujan, catalyzed and supported by National Council of Science and Technology Commission, DST Government of India, and Rajiv Gandhi Science and Technology Commission, Government of Maharashtra. I would like to thank our beloved VC ma'am, Dr. Munalini Fadnvis, for giving permission to organize this event. I would like to thank our invited speaker, Dr. Sanket Tikare sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering a nice lecture on a new concept, which is nothing but the time scale calculus. Actually, sir, this was a new concept for us, but you have explained it in a very easy way. Thank you for that. I would like to thank our director, Professor Dr. V.B. Gute sir, and our head department of mathematics, Dr. J.D. Mashal ma'am, for organizing this event. I would like to thank all the staff members, students, and participants. Once again, I thank one and all present here. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Vishal sir, for the vote of thanks. And I personally thank Dr. Sanket Tikare sir for giving us a valuable time and explaining this new concept of time scale to our students.
Okay. Thank you, madam, and thank you, Vinay, Professor Vinay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.